Welcome everyone. I see we have at least 17 participants. I hope some more will drop in. I will talk about Teams in a Cloud PC. Cloud PC has been there for a while now. In the beginning, it wasn't working that good, but now it starts actually working pretty fine. There are some special things you need to do and think about, but otherwise it's actually working pretty good. Let's start with me. I'm Mr. T-Bone. I'm a solution architect at the company in Sweden called Colligo. I'm an MVP, I'm an MCT. I'm actually been MCT for 25 years now, so I'm a senior. I run my own blog, so at www.tbone.se you can find my blog. And I also tweet a lot, so you can follow me on Twitter or X. My name is pretty hard to pronounce for someone outside of Sweden, so I'm now called by Mr. T-Bone, and it's because I love meat also. Enough about me. Let's talk some Cloud PC instead. Windows 365 is the cloud PC that Microsoft delivers. We also have a cousin called Azure Virtual Desktop. And Azure Virtual Desktop is sort of a cloud PC. I will use the Azure Virtual Desktop in some of the pre-recorded demos here, so I can modify and use a little bit more features in the back end, but otherwise it's working exactly like a Windows 365 computer. And Cloud PC, what actually is it? It's a PC up in the cloud. It's a virtual machine. Many of you have probably used Citrix before. You have a virtual desktop you connect to and start working either with the desktop or with apps. And if you look at Windows 365 or Microsoft Cloud PC, it's the same. You start up the Windows app in your PC. You get presented with a desktop or specific apps. You just connect to the desktop, for example, in this way, enter your password and get connected. We can, of course, trim to have single sign-on in certain situation also, but in this case, I have a password to get in. We can also have multi-factor authentication. And as you can see, I have my desktop, I have my apps, I can work. I can also start individual apps, published apps. And when I start a publish app, it starts and appears like it's in my local device, but it's actually running in the remote device. So for me as a user, I seldom notice any difference between the remote app and the local apps. You can see a small difference in the icon in this taskbar. Otherwise, it's pretty. So that's a cloud PC. Simple way of remote working, simple way of getting users up and running in a quick way. But there's also another use of cloud PCs that can optimize your environment. If you have a mobile phone, you plug it into a docking station, you get the mobile phone up on the screen, you start the remote desktop apps, you can see the published app, the desktop, you can connect to it just as I could with the Windows desktop. I enter my password again here. And then it's up and running in just a short while. we go. I'm logging on and I have the same desktop with Teams and my Word application. I can pick up where I started working from my Windows PC to my Android device. This is the Samsung DeX demonstrated. You just plug it into a docking station, start working. So that's two ways of using a cloud PC. Why would a company want a cloud PC, or why would a user want a cloud PC? I work as a consultant. I always bring my own device. I have my Colleago PC that I carry around with. If I come to a company, they often want to give me another laptop. So I have two laptops, and then I have three, and then I have four. And I don't want that. I want a cloud PC instead. I wouldn't want to use my physical device and connect to their virtual cloud PC instead. Mergers and acquisitions. I was involved in a merger of a large company in US that was merging into a Swedish company. There were about 2,000 clients out there, and they needed to start working in the new company systems as soon as possible. We handed out cloud PCs to all the 2,000 employees, and they could start working from day one, actually. Took a week or two before we had it in place, but very quick, instead of reinstalling every computer out there. It's also good for first-line workers, remote workplaces, if you need to work from home, for example. And this is the case. I am a consultant. I don't want this scenario. I don't want all these laptops. I need a cloud PC from every company instead. Then I can use my own PC. Everything is perfect. For the company that delivers cloud PCs, no laptop cost for consultants, no laptop costs for other ones needed, contractors, for example, or distributors that need access to an application or a desktop to work on. You have fast onboarding instead of reinstalling every computer, like in the merger acquisition case. We just provision cloud PCs to every employee, and they can start working instantly. The same with a consultant. You don't need to buy a laptop, provision a laptop. You just assign a license, and they're up and running, actually. And we also have the security and compliance. If you're using a cloud PC, you have everything inside your company and you own all the data. You have no data leaks. And if we look at it from a zero trust perspective, you have control over the entire environment. Your end users are using devices that are unknown, or bring your own device, or control devices, but they are only using the RDP protocol toward the cloud PC. And the cloud PC is where the execution happens. It's where the data processing happens. So all the applications, all the data, all the endpoints that are actually using your information are inside your zero trust network. And the only connection is via RDP, and it's using the identity with multi-factor to authenticate the user, so you're sure that the user is who they are supposed to be. When it comes to sizing of a cloud PC, Microsoft offers different sizes. I usually recommend the 2 CPU, 8 GB RAM sizing. There are smaller and there are bigger. If you're high load user, then you have a 16 CPU, 64 gigabyte RAM. It's pretty expensive, but it's there if you need it. If you're using a Azure Virtual Desktop, you have more variants of hardware. I usually use the D-sized machines, D4 or D8 machines, where you can have multiple users on the same machine, multi-session. But if you're going for the hardcore usage of an Azure Virtual Desktop, then you have really, really tough machines that have graphic use CPUs, so you can have extreme graphic on them also. Let's get back to Teams and cloud PCs. The new team has certified 4 platforms, VDI platforms, certified for Teams. It's the Azure Virtual Desktop, it's the Windows 365, it's the Citrix platform, and the VMware platform. So it's not just Microsoft platforms, but I will focus on Microsoft platform in this session. You have it also on Citrix and VMware. The requirement is actually only using a Windows of the latest version. You can also use a Windows Server. If you're using Azure Virtual Desktop, you can use a server instead of a client. You need to install Visual C++ redistributable. And you need to have WebView 2, and that's included in Edge, so you have it whether you want it or not. So it's not that difficult to install. The new Teams, it's 2 times faster, 50% less resources needed. That's wonderful for a cloud PC. In a cloud PC, you need to save your resources. If you're using a Azure Virtual Desktop, for example, you can have multiple users on the same virtual hardware. You're sharing the virtual hardware. If you can save resources, you don't disturb each other on the same machine. So it's wonderful if you can have less resources used. When it comes to the classic team, it will reach end of availability on June 13 this summer. So it's the new team that we're going to use in a cloud PC. And in the classic teams, there were lots of restrictions or things that didn't work. Now, most of the features in Teams are working. And there are a few things, but I actually haven't found any feature that didn't work when I tried it out now with the latest version. When you're building your cloud PCs from an admin perspective, you have ready images with Microsoft 365 apps. Watch out for them because they include the old team, the classic team. You can certainly switch to the new team if you push the switch, but some user won't do it. So it's better to have the new teams from start. The same with building a custom image in Azure Virtual Desktop. There's a ready script to enable Teams optimization, but it's using the classic team. Even if you select latest, you get the classic team. So watch out for the existing images. Build your own image instead. Use a Windows 11, the latest version. Add a registry key and install Visual C++, WebRTC, and the new Teams. And the new Teams you install by the new Teams Bootstrapper. It's a better machine-wide installation than the previous ones. that will update the old one didn't correctly. So it's not hard to set up your own image. You need to upload it to a image gallery, but otherwise this is what you need to install. I told you that Teams used less resources and was faster. I found an article from GigaOM about this. They have tested it, and all the results in their tests were fantastic, actually, with the new Teams compared with the classic Teams. Idle memory consumption, in-meeting memory consumptions, and so on. Improvements everywhere, and that is wonderful for Cloud PC. So use the new Teams. Don't use the classic Teams if you're setting up a Cloud PC environment. When it comes to the clients that are connecting to Cloud PC, if you have a Windows machine or a Mac OS, then you have a new app called Windows App. First, they called it Windows 365 app, but they have ditched the 365 lately. So if you enable the preview in Windows App, then you have an app called Windows App instead of Windows 365 app. And the new app will also include Azure Virtual Desktops in the same app. So you can have both Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktops. So it's a better collection of all your virtual desktops in one place. The old one is at the bottom, remote desktop app. It's not that nice interface on that one, and it's still working as it should, but I prefer using the new one. The Android, iOS, and iPad don't have multimedia redirection, Teams media optimizations, and the web browser doesn't either. So those three platforms is harder to work with Teams in. If you're going to use Teams with Teams media optimization, go for Windows and Mac OS clients. It's not always something you can choose, but if you have Android, iOS, and web browser clients, then you need to rethink how you should use Teams in those platforms. If we look at the Windows and Mac OS with the new Windows app, Teams optimization is working excellent, and you have an excellent meeting experience. The old app is also working with Teams media optimization, and the meeting experience is as good. So it's not much difference in the background how these two apps works. It's mostly the front end. So Windows and Mac OS, the best client platforms so far. If you're using an Android, as I did in my demo, you're using an app called Remote Desktop. You don't have any Teams media optimization. You have bad meeting experience, but you can use it for collaboration. So if you, for example, need to collaborate, you need to communicate via channels, reach files in a channel, Power BI reports in a channel, applications in a channel. That's perfect collaboration from an Android with Samsung DeX, for example. But starting a meeting with camera and microphone, not that good. The same goes with iOS and iPad. when you're using a remote desktop against the cloud PC or Azure Virtual Desktop, you often get no available camera or no available microphone. So it's kind of disturbing. It's not reliable. So in an iPad, iOS, and Android, you're using the remote desktop app. You don't have any media optimization. You have bad meeting experience. And the same with iPad and iOS. Use it for collaboration only, not meetings. And there is actually a third-party client that I will mention also, the iGelOS client. They have implemented Teams media optimization, and they have excellent meeting experience. This platform is based on Linux. It's a cheap operating system, and it's focusing on the thin client scenario. You buy cheap hardware, cheap thin clients to your first line workers out in the factory, for example. And you have a thin client with iGelOS, connect to a cloud PC, and you have perfect media experience. So if you're going to use Teams, use the Windows app. You can use it from Mac OS and Windows. There are some plans for iOS and Android, but we haven't seen them yet and don't know if Teams media optimization will be in there. But there are plans to replace the old remote desktop app also in those platforms. But we don't know if there's Teams media optimization coming for those platforms. And I've been nagging about Teams media optimization for a while now. What actually is Teams media optimization? Teams media optimization, if you don't have Teams media optimization, all your media, your sound and picture, camera and microphone goes through the cloud PC up to the Teams cloud and back again, and all the encoding and encryption appears on the cloud PC. The cloud PC gets pretty much to do. It has to process all the audio and video, and it claims all the resources in the machine, actually. We can look at it from a real perspective, how it actually looks. I have a cloud PC here, and you can see the local PC at the right end. We don't have any media optimization enabled in this machine. If I start a call or a meeting, we can see that the CPU on the cloud PC goes up pretty high, 100%. There we go, high CPU load on the cloud PC. And the local device that I'm using, it's pretty low CPU, and the quality is bad. I don't know if you actually can see the quality now that we are using a Teams meeting on a Teams meeting and we are sending it out. But it's actually high CPU, you can see that, and I promise you it's poor quality. It's not a good experience. And you can also see that Teams communicate with team services. So that's without Teams media optimization. If we go to the other scenario where we have Teams media optimization, we can actually send audio and video directly to the remote Teams user. We don't need to use Teams Cloud. We don't need to use the cloud PC, we can communicate directly with other Teams users. If the other Teams user isn't available or we're in a meeting with multiple participants, of course, we can use Teams Cloud directly, but we don't need to go through the cloud PC with every traffic. And the encoding and encryption appears on the local client instead of the cloud PC. If we look at this one, we have Teams Media Optimization enabled. The same scenario. We start a call or a meeting. The same thing will actually appear. And when we start this call, we can see the CPU goes up for a little while, but then it's going down and pretty low, 20% was the top there. But local CPU goes up a bit, but all the processing is done at the local client. And we can also see that the MSRDC is working against other local clients in the network. And the cloud PC is actually only working with MSRDC client, not the MS Teams client, communicating with the loopback interface towards the RDP protocol. So you have excellent quality in both meetings and in videos, or in this case, screen sharing with video. So much nicer performance when using Teams Media Optimization, and you save resources on the cloud PC. I hope that visualizes it. So if you're going to use a cloud PC, enable Teams Media Optimization. It's a perfect match for cloud PCs. You use less CPU, less GPU, less bandwidth. And this makes cheaper cloud PCs. You don't have to buy the worst model to get Teams working. You can have more users per host in AVD. You get better performance, happy users. So it's a win-win situation if you enable it. When you're using a cloud PC, don't forget also to enable redirection of devices, microphone redirection, audio redirection, and camera redirection. If you don't enable them, you can't actually have cameras in Teams in a cloud PC, for example. So you need to enable those to have possibility to use those hardwares in the cloud PC. But what if you need to use, for example, an Android with Samsung DeX and you don't have Teams Media Optimization? You can either use Teams only for collaboration, not meetings, as I said, but you can also boost the hardware. If you, for example, use a Azure Virtual Desktop with a GPU, they cost a lot, but you can use them. Then you can have actually excellent Teams meetings in a cloud PC or Azure Virtual Desktop in this case, by boosting the virtual hardware instead of using the client hardware. So you can do it this way too. You actually don't need to boost it up that high, but you can understand the difference. You can also enable hardware encoding for Teams in your local client. It's a feature inside Teams. When you run Teams locally, you can enable hardware encoding. You can do the same when you're using a cloud PC and a Windows client. You can add this registry key and you can have hardware encoding on your client device local device, not the cloud PC, the client device. This makes the outgoing camera a bit faster and better performance, and video quality increases. You can also restrict content sharing. You can disable content sharing in the cloud PC. You can disable only the desktop screen sharing or the application screen sharing, or both of them. So you have the possibility to restrict that feature. You can also restrict some other things like screen capture protection. If you're using a cloud PC and you don't want the clients to be able to screenshot the client PC, the cloud PC, you can enable screen capture protection on the AVD, and they can't do screenshots. There's also a watermarking. If you're, for example, running a session on Teams Nation and you want to ensure that your participant don't do screen captures and spread things around your session that you don't want them to, and you need to let's say find out where it came from, and you can see the watermarking on the screenshots, and you can find out which presentation it was taken from, for example. Maybe a bad example, but there's also a RDP short path that can be beneficial. And when we looked at Teams media optimization, we saw that the physical device can communicate directly with other devices on the network. If we enable RDP short path, we can actually connect directly to the remote desktop or the cloud PC from the internal network via an express route, for example, and have even better communication towards the cloud PC, and also better communication with other clients on the network and other cloud PCs, for example. So we can optimize the network traffic in a LAN scenario, for example. There's also another function that relates to this, and it's called multimedia redirection. And if we enable that one in a cloud PC, we install a browser extension for Edge or Chrome, and then we enable that browser extension. We can restrict some sites to be enabled or disabled for using multimedia redirection. But if we enable this, the browser, the Edge browser, can do the same thing as the Teams client. We can have the local client device communicate directly to YouTube, for example, instead of traffic going to the cloud PC and then to the client device and back again. So we save bandwidth, we optimize the experience by redirect the multimedia to the local device instead of using it in the cloud PC. So it's pretty the same as Teams media optimization, but it's for Edge, and it's for more platforms than just Microsoft. You can also use this in Teams live events, Teams town halls, and so on. So you can optimize the experience when using a web browser for Teams live event, for example. So that's also a recommendation to enable in a cloud PC. A summary, I encourage you to try and use cloud PCs in your environments. It's easy to set up, it's easy to use, and it's powerful. Use the new Teams inside the Cloud PC. Use the Windows app to connect to the Cloud PC if possible. You don't have it in Android and iOS yet. Enable Teams media optimizations and enable multimedia redirection when you're setting it up. So we have that one in place also. And you can size the Cloud PC correctly for your purpose. If you, for example, don't have Teams media optimization and you need to use it for meetings, you need to upsize it. If you have Teams media optimization and you have suitable clients, then you can downsize the Cloud PC to correct sizing and have the optimal experience. And that's actually it.